Ahead on NewsWatch, Ted Cruz and Bernie Sanders win big in Wisconsin. Will break down what last night's primaries mean and whether Trump and Clinton are still on track to win. Plus, persecution in Pakistan, a terror group targeting Christians in the country, and learn how you should be praying. Then,
those chips will compel you to eat more and more beyond what you should, and you'll go back for more bags and more bags.
Addicted to junk, we're unlocking the science behind processed foods. Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. As expected, the voters of Wisconsin have given Ted Cruz and Bernie Sanders victories over their party frontrunners. And that means contested party conventions may be more likely this summer for the Republicans and possibly even the Democrats. Our Gary Lane has more.
It wasn't a knockout punch, but Senator Ted Cruz delivered a major blow to Donald Trump's effort to secure enough delegates to win the Republican presidential nomination before the GOP convention.
God bless the great state of Wisconsin.
Wisconsin Republicans gave Cruz the nod over Trump, 48 to 35%. Ohio Governor John Kasich came in a disappointing and distant third, winning only 14% of the vote.
Tonight is a turning point. It is a rallying cry. It is a call from the hardworking men and women of Wisconsin to the people of America. We have a choice, a real choice.
Cruz said he is truly unifying the Republican Party. Donald Trump responded, saying there's no party unity, just an anti-Trump initiative led by the GOP party establishment. But American voters may now be moving toward favoring Cruz over Trump. A new Reuters poll shows Cruz leading Trump for the first time nationally, 39 to 37%. And he'll still need to win 1,237 delegates to get the nomination. After Wisconsin, Trump has 740 delegates, Cruz 514, and Kasich only 143. Meanwhile, on the Democrat side, Badger State voters made Hillary Clinton feel the burn.
We won in Wisconsin.
Vermont Democratic Socialist Senator Bernie Sanders decisively beat Clinton by 10 points, with almost 57% of the vote to her 43%.
We have now won 7 out of 8 of the last caucuses and primaries.
But Sanders still needs to win about 67% of the remaining delegates to secure the Democratic presidential nomination. 2,383 are needed. Currently, Hillary Clinton has 1,743, Sanders 1,056. And while the momentum may now favor Sanders and Cruz, it can quickly change in political campaigns. Both GOP frontrunner Donald Trump and Democrat Hillary Clinton are expected to win their home state of New York when voters go to the polls for that primary in 2 weeks. Gary Lane, CBN News.
Mississippi Governor Phil Bryant has signed a religious protections bill after it passed the State House and Senate last week. Churches, religious charities, and private businesses will be able to refuse to participate in gay wedding ceremonies without fear of punishment. Protesters say the law discriminates against the homosexual community. The measure also says governments must still provide services, but individual employees may opt out.
I think it's a good bill. I think it protects the religious freedom of people who have deeply held religious beliefs, and so did the legislature and so did the majority of the people of the state of Mississippi, so we signed it into law.
The American Family Association applauded the law, stating Mississippi government bravely stands for religious liberties rather than caving to the pressure of the vocal gay activists. The law goes into effect on July 1st. North Carolina is paying a high price after striking down Charlotte's bathroom ordinance bill. PayPal says it is now canceling plans to bring more than 400 jobs and $3.6 million of investments into the city with its new operations center. The decision comes after North Carolina's governor signed a bill requiring transgendered people to use public bathrooms assigned to their biological sex rather than the sex they identify with. PayPal's president says the new law results in discrimination. It is not clear what the next step will be for PayPal in North Carolina.
This has real impact on Charlotte families and North Carolina families. And I am just urging our legislature to find some kind of legislative remedy as soon as possible.
I'm going to respect people who disagree with our basic common sense rules.
PayPal will be seeking an alternative location for their operations center. Idaho Governor C.L. Otter has vetoed a bill that would have allowed the Bible to be used in public school curriculum. The bill would have allowed public school teachers to reference the Bible for subjects like literature, history, music, and geography. Otter says he respects the Bible, but the bill was unconstitutional. The Taliban faction responsible for that deadly Easter bombing in Pakistan is threatening more attacks against Christians and other minorities in the days ahead. At least 73 Pakistanis, including 24 children, were killed during the bombing at a popular park in Lahore. More than 360 people were injured. NBC News is reporting a spokesman for the terrorist group said the men responsible for the murders were trained in Afghanistan. Government leaders around the world condemned the Easter attack, but Christians say much more needs to be done to protect the body of Christ in Pakistan. Joining us now with more from our Washington bureau is Wilson Chowdhury. He is the chairman of the group British Pakistani Christians. Mr. Chowdhury, let me begin by asking, how is the Christian community in Pakistan holding up after that Easter attack?
Well, the services this Sunday were full to rafters. These attacks never stopped my community from going back to churches. In fact, they cling close to God in times of great adversity. However, they are still very terrified and they don't believe that the government is doing enough to protect them.
The Taliban faction responsible says more attacks are coming. What do you think should be done?
Well, we need to have better security at churches. The government has failed on several occasions. Churches are using their own voluntary security forces. These are volunteer youth from within the church who aren't particularly trained for this. So if the government cannot afford it, why not just train these volunteers themselves to become better security operatives? But more to the point, the government has to clamp down and catch these terrorists. After the bombing, 5,000 arrests were made. 200 convictions have started the process. But I'm concerned about why it was so easy to find them after the bomb attack and not before. It seems to me as if Pakistan's got one foot in both camps.
Yeah, clear the government needs to be doing more. How are Christians in Pakistan, the UK and the US responding?
Well, yesterday we had a protest outside the UN. This is Pakistani Christians from America and from Britain collaborating together. We called for the UN to start recognising Christians are persecuted and not simply severely discriminated, a risk profile that has prevented asylum to many Pakistani Christians. We've also called for the Western nations to engage better with Pakistan. Pakistan is the largest recipient of foreign aid from both America and Pakistan, yet absolutely no change has been made to the poor human rights record. We're saying stop that foreign aid until you can see a change that will bring equality to a nation that is suffering great distress.
So you're in Washington yesterday, New York yesterday, you're in Washington today. What do you want President Obama and members of Congress to do?
Well, firstly, engage with the President of Pakistan and ask what is happening about these terrorists. The terrorists seem to be growing in number and their attacks growing in frequency and intensity, despite the billions ploughed in by America to sharpen up the security in Pakistan. More to the point, President Obama really has to look at the way Pakistan protects all its people. For instance, the blasphemy law of Pakistan, a tool for discrimination, protects only the Islamic faith. Promises of reform never come to fruition, and all we're seeing is these laws are being increasingly used to target Christians, who now make up 15% of blasphemy charges, despite being only 1.6% of the population. This simply doesn't make sense and is evidence of clear targeting of minorities in Pakistan. This is a genocide maybe not entirely state-sponsored, but a genocide nevertheless.
Real quickly before I let you go, how and what should we be praying for?
Well, pray for succour for the families that have been affected. Children who are in hospital. There's a 3-year-old child with punctured lungs, its eyes burned out. They're not sure whether it's a girl or boy. No parents have come to collect that child from the hospital. It's now breathing through an oxygen mask. Pray for healing. Pray for restoration. Pray for that child's parents to come forward, if they're still alive, or a family member to take care of that child. And really pray for peace in Pakistan and equality. It's something that campaigners have been calling for a long time. And I think this attack in itself is probably going to be the trigger for change that we've all wished for, because there's been so much media attention. Pray that people watching today contact their MPs, contact their senators, and ask for that change to come to fruition.
Wilson Chowdhury, thank you for your work and for joining us today. Nuclear proliferation and North Korea topped the agenda at the world leaders gathering recently for a nuclear summit in Washington. President Obama and the president of China exchanged views on many pressing issues, but safeguarding the Korean peninsula from nuclear weapons was the urgent concern. Meng Fai Lee has the story.
China and the United States last week reaffirmed a joint commitment to global nuclear security and pledged to continue their partnership in this area. China vowed to sponsor training programs for other countries to further promote global nuclear security awareness. Despite some disagreements with the United States, President Xi said the two countries have mutual interests that should be addressed.
On the basis of respecting each other's core interests and major concerns, we should seek active solutions through dialogue and consultation.
At the summit, President Obama urged China to use its influence to eliminate North Korea's nuclear program. North Korea's recent missile launches have alarmed the world.
Of great importance to both of us is North Korea's pursuit of nuclear weapons, which threatens the security and stability of the region. And President Xi and I are both committed to the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula and full implementation of UN sanctions.
North Korea criticized the UN sanctions and said the US should stop spreading biased opinions.
We strongly condemn and reject these wild sanction maneuvers against our ships by the US imperialists and their fellows. The UN Security Council should ensure the peace and security of the world, but it has abandoned its own mission and duty.
China's President Xi may meet with President Obama again in September. That's when the G20 summit will be held in the Chinese city of Hangzhou. North Korea may again be a subject of mutual concern, but climate change and clean energy may also top the agenda. Meng Fei Lee for CBN News.
Coming up, ISIS destroyed their lives. Find out how CBN partners are helping to rebuild them. The External Affairs Minister for India says a Catholic priest held hostage by Islamic extremists in Yemen is alive. Several Christian media outlets had falsely reported Father Tom had been crucified, but New Delhi television reports he is alive and the Indian government is working for his release. Father Tom was taken by Muslim militants who attacked a Catholic retirement home in South Yemen. They killed 15 people in that attack, including 4 nuns. We've heard for months about hundreds of thousands of refugees fleeing for their lives from ISIS. Now we'd like to introduce you to one of those families. Dahan and Aziza are Syrians who fled to Kurdistan. Even though they escaped ISIS, their troubles were far from over. That is why CBN is stepping in to help.
Aziza and her 2 children were forced to run the night ISIS attacked their home in Kobani, Syria.
We went as fast as we could and left everything behind to be destroyed by ISIS. I only thought about our survival and getting to my husband in Kurdistan.
The border was closed, so Aziza paid a smuggler to get them into Iraqi Kurdistan. Then they joined her husband Dahan, who had gone to Erbil to find work.
I was so happy to hold them in my arms, to see them safe. But my brother didn't escape. ISIS captured him and cut him into pieces and sent me the pictures on my phone. Now I see that image in my head every day.
They quickly found out how hard life is for refugees.
The cost of living here is too high, and the company I work for has refused to pay 5 months of wages they owe me. No one is willing to help us, and I'm especially worried for my wife, because we found out she is pregnant.
My husband has high blood pressure because of his struggles, and I'm afraid he will have a heart attack. We can barely buy food, but the hardest part as a mother is not being able to get toys for my children. My son's only toy is broken, and it is his dream to have a remote control car, but we can't afford it.
The family told me Aziza can't find a job because of the local stigma against Syrian women. So we came up with a plan to open a women's accessory store for her. We took her to the ancient market in Erbil and helped her buy everything she needed. We even found a storefront close to her home and paid 3 months' rent in advance.
This was an amazing thing for you to do for us. You have given us hope and brightened our lives.
CBN also got blood pressure medicine for Dahan and prenatal vitamins for Aziza. And we're helping them with food while the store gets off the ground. Before we left, we had one final surprise. Brand new toys for the children.
I am so grateful to God with all my heart for having met you. Thank you for your desire to help us.
We knew what history told us about Islam, that it came with a bloody sword, but we didn't believe it. Now we have seen the reality of that. And we have seen Christianity. You came with support and love.
You can learn more about how CBN is helping around the world by going to cbn.com. Up next, we'll hear from an investigative reporter who infiltrated America's largest processed food companies to spill their deadly secrets. If you want to lose weight, beans might be the cure to help. Chickpeas, lentils, peas, and beans can help you feel full and get rid of those extra pounds. That is the finding from a study in Canada. One expert told Health Day News the study wasn't surprising because these foods are full of fiber, protein, vitamins, and minerals. Well, when it comes to health, processed food has become public enemy number one. Our CBN News health reporter Lori Johnson met an investigative journalist who went undercover to learn the secrets of the processed food industry and how they are keeping us hooked.
Processed foods, we know we should stay away from them and those sugary drinks too, but they're just so hard to resist.
The food that we hate to love and that we're so tempted and will overeat is a problem, and the solution is gaining control over that food.
Michael Moss is a Pulitzer Prize-winning investigative journalist for the New York Times. He infiltrated America's largest processed food companies. In the book Salt, Sugar, Fat, he exposes how they addicted us.
They got big by making products that are utterly irresistible to people, both in taste but also ultra convenient, that will sit on the shelf and be waiting for you when you're ready to eat them, and also incredibly low cost.
Maybe low cost at the checkout line, but we pay dearly later on with our health and lost productivity. Doctors trace our obesity epidemic back to processed foods, and so do the people making those products.
Startling thing is that the food industry itself has known for years and years that it's at least partly responsible for that.
Processed foods kill with staggering amounts of salt, sugar, usually high fructose corn syrup, and unhealthy fat.
I don't view the food industry as some evil empire that intentionally sought to make us obese or otherwise ill. The issue is kind of their collective zeal to do what companies do, which is to make as much money as possible by selling as much product as possible.
Inside these labs of the processed food companies, scientists use cutting-edge technology, formulating what's known as a food's bliss point, or its maximum flavor and allure. That usually means one thing: sugar.
Prepared pasta sauces on the shelf in the grocery store are really sweet. They will have as the equivalent of sugar, or the equivalent of 2 Oreo cookies or more of sugar per tiny little half-cup serving. I've started making my own pasta sauce, and it's not that hard.
They also lure us with texture. By manipulating a food's chemical structure, scientists achieve ultimate, what they call mouthfeel. They also invented ways to disguise the sensation of being full.
Those chips will compel you to eat more and more beyond what you should, and you'll go back for more bags and more bags.
Processed food makers know we consumers care about nutrition, so they devise marketing schemes to make their products appear healthy. They'll dial back on one bad ingredient while secretly pumping up others.
So, for example, You can find a yogurt that sells itself as being low fat, but it can and often has as much sugar in it and calories as a serving of ice cream.
Labels tout healthy ingredients like calcium, olive oil, or fruit, but the amount of the good stuff is minuscule. A close look still shows shocking levels of salt, sugar, and fat.
The good news is we can resist the temptation to buy processed foods by coming to the store full, hydrated, and armed with a good shopping list. And don't buy anything unless it's on the list.
Spend more time on the perimeter of the store where you'll find the fresh foods. When you are in the center part of the store, be wary of the products at eye level. Grocers put those tasty, unhealthy items right in front of your face because they sell the most. So while processed food is delicious, cheap, and convenient, it could ruin your health. The extra effort to eat fresh food will likely pay off in the long run. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
Operation Blessing is helping a single father in Peru by providing a farming project. After Norberto's wife left him to care for their 3 children all alone, he could not find steady work. Operation Blessing bought a poultry farming project to his daughter's school, and they were so impressed with Norberto's experience and dedication, they provided him with 75 chickens to start his own family farming project as an extension of the school program. Norberto says that thanks to Operation Blessing, he now has a permanent job and he can be successful. Well, finally, a word for your Wednesday, and today's word is give. This is a good day to give or do something for someone who is poor and in need. And unfortunately, they are very easy to find because there are so many out there. And in that giving, remember this promise: he that gives to the poor lends to the Lord, and God repays his debt with greater interest than any lender. With that, make time to give and make this a wonderful Wednesday. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. You can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com. We'd love to hear what you think about the stories you've seen here today, and join us right back here come tomorrow. Make it a wonderful Wednesday.